Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 2 days away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very worried about is, of course, exactly how everything is really going to tie directly into the prequels and the originals, you name it. Now, looking at Disney Star Wars in general, and looking at it in a general sense, and what Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, had to say about how the fans, reacted to Solo: A Star Wars Story's box office results, and of course how they reacted to The Last Jedi Backlash, and everything related to The Rise of Skywalker, and their concerns about this movie, Bob Iger was able to make an official statement during his time over at the official premiere of The Rise of Skywalker of what he actually feels about the backlash of Star Wars in general, and what people talk about the Star Wars films in a negative sense, and what he has to say about that. So this is what Bob Iger had to say over at the premiere for The Rise of Skywalker. Now, he states that when they see all of this, we don't overreact. We respect fans of Star Wars. That's really important to us. To Lucasfilm, to the franchise, he said. But we do the best job that we can. We think we had a very hard job in bringing this forward. The Force Awakens, satisfying the traditional fans and touching on themes and characters and places they were familiar with, but introducing the new places, new stories, new characters. And I think that over the 3 that we produced, those 3, we've done a really good job of threading that needle, walking that fine line. We know that we're never going to please everybody all the time, and we see that with Disney films, with Marvel films. So I don't mean to suggest that I'm dismissive of it, because we respect our fans, but we don't overreact either. So that's what he had to say about, everything related to the backlash of Star Wars in general, and how fans actually react to the performance of these movies, such as how Solo: A Star Wars Story did rather poor at the box office, and The Last Jedi Backlash, and the concerns about The Rise of Skywalker based on all of the leaks and the spoilers that we've been talking about. Now, on top of all of this, we do know that Episode 9 is going to be a very important film by Disney and Lucasfilm. That's exactly, why it is, because this is going to determine the future of the franchise and where things will stand for Disney and Lucasfilm when it comes to their new trilogy or their new set of Star Wars movies, and of course Disney Plus, everything ranging from the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, Cassian Andor, The Mandalorian Season 2, and they're even in talks for a Mace Windu TV series and even a Yoda TV series at that. So Bob Iger's statement, like I say, in this statement, if we look at it in its own here, he states that, of course, we respect the fans. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, because there are a lot of things that were done wrong in The Last Jedi for a lot of fans around the world. If they really respected the fans, they would have given what the fans have wanted in The Last Jedi to its maximum, right? So that's the one thing there. Even the editor, by the way, we talked about this in our last video, Mary Ann Brandon, she actually took a couple of little shots at Rian Johnson and kind of called out his mistakes of The Last Jedi and everything related to it in that sense, and how they had to really fix a lot of elements of that in The Rise of Skywalker. So that was another big problem for Disney and Lucasfilm, is that there was a lot of patchwork to be done in Episode 9 because of Rian Johnson's mess in Episode 9, or should I say in Episode 8. So, like I say, that's what Bob Iger had to say about how he respects the fans and how he believes that they've done all 3 movies very, very well. But the thing that gets me is what Bob Iger says here, is that they see this with Marvel movies and they see this with regular Disney films. Now, I would have to disagree with that. We don't really see any of the Marvel movies, having such a divided fan base that we got with The Last Jedi, or failing at the box office, similar in a sense to Solo: A Star Wars Story. We haven't really seen it to that degree, at least from, what we have seen in all the different phases so far. So, Disney, is obviously trying to, I think they're not really trying to say what they want to say here. I mean, this is the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, after all. You guys may have seen what he actually talked about just yesterday about Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy essentially came out and said just yesterday that there are not going to be any more new trilogies of Star Wars. They're going to kind of abandon that trilogy format, and they're going to do away with it. And it ended up that Kathleen Kennedy had no idea what she was talking about, because this question was brought up to Bob Iger at the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, where Bob Iger literally says this. Let me just try to find this here. Bob Iger actually says that I don't really know about that when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, you know, everything related to it in that sense. But related to everything that Kathleen Kennedy said about future Star Wars projects and stuff around those lines, what he had to say about that to Kathleen Kennedy, or about Kathleen Kennedy, is that, you know, he doesn't really know about that, but he does figure that they will make movies and make sequels to those movies, and shot down Kathleen Kennedy's claims that there were going to be no more trilogies, basically. So Bob Iger, you know, had to say that. It was a very interesting piece, what Bob Iger had to say there. But when we look at Episode 9, you know, this movie really is important to the fans, because this movie is going to determine exactly how we look at the entirety of the sequel trilogy, how fans look at the sequel trilogy. You know, that really is a big deal. The Last Jedi, in my opinion, was an epic failure. It was a terrible failure, a lot of mistakes, a lot of flaws, and that was the one big thing about that movie, is how it really kind of just really messed up J.J. Abrams' workflow. It really did, because he had to do a lot of patchwork. There's no denying it in Episode 9. Throughout all the leaks that we've been talking about, he literally had to really do tons of different pieces of patchwork for The Rise of Skywalker from The Last Jedi in order to make this film a successful movie. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's exactly what they had to do. Now, like I've always said in the past, we do know that Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, they have more plans than just the movies. They have a lot of plans for Disney Plus and the live-action TV series. By far, I think one of the most anticipated projects is the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series that's due for release in 2021. So we got a little over 1 year to go until it's released. It's set to release sometime either in early to mid 2021 is, you know, what they're aiming for right now. So give or take a year and a half, give or take, where we're going to finally be able to see Obi-Wan's life in between the events of episodes 3 and episodes 4. Episode 4, right? So when we look at what Bob Iger said about the trilogy format and how, oh, I don't know about that, you know, but we're thinking about making movies and making sequels to those movies, basically saying that, yes, the trilogy format is still in the works. We're not abandoning that. It's a big story. Go ahead and look it up. Basically, he shot down what Kathleen Kennedy claimed. That, again, once again, proves that Kathleen Kennedy has no idea what she's talking about, and that she has poor leadership skills over at head of Lucasfilm, and she doesn't truly understand Star Wars. She really doesn't, in my book. I mean, I think that it's really time for her to retire in 2021 when her contract is up. She's nearing the age of 70. I think it really is time for her to just kick back and relax and call it a day, right? And maybe have Jon Favreau on board, or somebody that can run both the business and creative aspects of a company. I think that if you could do that, then you're golden. I think that if you can do that, you know, as president of Lucasfilm, you are golden. We've seen a prime example of how The Mandalorian is very well made. Why? Because Kathleen Kennedy wasn't as involved with that series. That's the truth. It's all Kennedy, guys. It's all Kathleen Kennedy. Why, you know, The Last Jedi had so many flaws. She chose Rian Johnson. Just the other day, apparently, she said that she still wants Rian Johnson to make Star Wars movies. She just won't let it go. She just won't let it go. Because I think that Rian Johnson, you know, he's best suited for independent-style movies. That's about it. He's not really meant for a big blockbuster Star Wars movie, at least in my point of view, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there will agree as well. So, with that being said, I would like to hear what each and every one of you guys out there have to say about this entire situation, about what Disney and Lucasfilm had to say about, you know, the backlash and how fans respond to, you know, negative aspects of the Star Wars franchise and stuff around those lines. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.